Welcome to this academic masterclass explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the English preposition. We're going to see exactly how to elevate our understanding of these words from just basic, everyday connectors to the incredibly complex structural and semantic backbone that's required for true C2 level proficiency. We're going way beyond simple grammar rules today to uncover the actual underlying logic of the English language. Okay, let's just quickly glance at our rigorous syllabus for this session. We'll be moving methodically through 6 parts. First, defining the grammatical category. Second, taxonomy and phonology. Third, syntactic functions. Fourth, distinct categories and positions. Fifth, a semantic analysis of space and time. And finally, we'll wrap up with abstract relations.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, defining the grammatical category. Specifically, looking at prepositions as relational bridges.
So, what exactly is a preposition within contemporary linguistic theory? What's really fascinating about how modern scholars define the central preposition is that it's actually defined just as much by what it strictly excludes as by what it connects. It acts as a relational bridge, right? But structurally, it outright rejects certain complements. Meaning you can say you are surprised at her, using an objective pronoun, but the strict rules of syntax dictate you can literally never say surprised at she. Nor can you ever follow a central preposition with a that clause or an infinitive clause. It just doesn't work. Moving along, let's get into Section 2, taxonomy and phonology. Basically, how these units are structured and how they actually sound. Structurally speaking, the English preposition bifurcates or splits into 2 main camps. On one side, we have simple prepositions. These are highly polysemous, single words, meaning they carry multiple layered meanings depending on context. Words like at, in, or for. On the flip side of that, we have complex prepositions. These are multi-word units that actually act as a single grammatical entity. They can be 2 words, 3 words, and they can even integrate articles seamlessly into the whole shebang, like the phrase, in the light of. And this brilliantly illustrates the phonological aspect. Prosody, which is the rhythm and stress of speech, is absolutely key here. Simple prepositions are usually totally unstressed in natural connected speech, but if you shift the stress, you can fundamentally alter the entire semantic output. Notice the contrast here. If I say a book by her, unstressed, it just means the physical location of the book is near her. But if I shift my vocal weight and say a book by her, wow, we've completely changed the meaning from spatial location to authorship. It's a totally different reality. Okay, let's move to Section 3, syntactic functions. We're looking at their diverse roles within clause structure. Drawing heavily from the linguist Randolph Quirk's comprehensive grammar, we can categorize the adverbial functions of prepositional phrases into 4 distinct subtypes. First up, we have adjuncts, which provide circumstantial context, like flying above the clouds. Second are subjuncts, which basically frame a viewpoint, such as from a personal point of view. Third, we have disjuncts, which offer a sort of meta-commentary on the speaker's attitude, like saying, in all fairness. And finally, conjuncts, which provide critical discourse cohesion, as you see in phrases like, on the other hand. Now, prepositional phrases can also act what we call quasi-adjectivally as complements for copular verbs. This tightly binds the semantic units so that they function exactly like regular adjectives. For example, a phrase like out of date means the exact same thing semantically as the adjective obsolete. Or if someone is in good health, that phrase coordinates exactly like the word healthy. It really shows how versatile these phrases are for building up that advanced C2 level vocabulary. So that brings us to Section 4, distinct categories and positions. Let's look at some crucial distinctions and nuances. This next distinction is a real game changer because it trips up so many learners. A preposition and a prepositional adverb can actually share the exact same physical form. However, prepositions absolutely require a nominal complement and are usually unstressed, as in, he stayed in the house. Prepositional adverbs, on the other hand, take no complement at all, and they carry vocal stress, as in, he stayed in. And that leads us to the super fascinating concept of the deferred preposition. Generally, a preposition precedes its complement, right? But in certain clauses, we actually get a choice. Do you use the conversational end position, like the first example, which house are you at? Or do you use the highly formal pre-pronoun placement in the second example, at which house are you? Both are completely valid grammatically, but they instantly signal entirely different levels of formality and register to your listener. All right, shifting gears from syntactic structure to meaning, let's dive into Section 5, semantic analysis. specifically how we handle space and time.
Looking at locative semantics, it is almost mathematical how it maps to dimensional properties. It's incredibly elegant. For a type 0, which is a dimensionless point on a map, you use at. If you're referring to a type 1 or 2, which represents a line or a flat surface, you use on. And for a type 2 or 3, representing a three-dimensional area or volume, you use in.
So to put that into perspective, the crucial takeaway here is that your prepositional choice depends entirely on spatial perspective. For instance, you say you are in London because you're conceiving of the city as this large volumetric territory. But you say you are at London Airport because mentally you are reducing that huge space to a smaller, functional point or a specific institution. The physical geographic reality is exactly the same, but human perspective literally changes the grammar.
And what's truly beautiful about the English language is that these spatial dimensions then metaphorically extend right into time. This dimensional theory dictates exactly why we use at for specific dimensionless moments in time, like noon. We use on for days, which are conceptualized as a flat surface, like Monday. And we use in for longer durations that have metaphorical volume, like months, seasons, and years. It's all completely connected.
Finally, let's move to our last section, Section 6, Abstract Relations. Let's see how all this builds into expressing cause, purpose, and agency.
A really critical abstract distinction, analyzed by linguists, is the difference between agency and instrumentality. Think about a falling branch. If a car was damaged by the branch, it implies a natural cause, right? The branch acted as an agent, completely without human control. But if the car was damaged with the branch, we instantly know it was used with instrumental intent, as a tool by a human being. Just one single tiny word changes the entire forensic reality of the sentence. No way around it. We see a very similar semantic precision with verbs of transfer. Using to indicates a totally neutral delivery to a recipient, like giving a gift to someone, while using at turns that person into a target. It almost always implies a psychological motive of hostility, like throwing a rock at someone.
And just to add one final layer of complexity here, we can actually use intensifiers to modify these prepositional phrases. Words like just or right act as modifiers, like saying something is just inside the door or right off the highway. This brings incredible, laser-like precision to the exact degree and measure of the spatial or temporal relationship.
As we wrap up this academic explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocation. Now that we've explored the taxonomy, the phonology, the dimensional theory, and the abstract logic behind all of this, it's pretty clear these are far more than just minor connecting words, aren't they? They are the structural, spatial, and semantic masters of English discourse. So how will mastering these relational bridges transform your own linguistic competence? I really hope uncovering the architecture of English in this source material has been as eye-opening for you as it was for me. Keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next explainer.